Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Curseof and welcome back to another video. And with the Toxic Legacy series right around the corner and just having finished the top 5 decks from the GX box, today I'm here to bring you guys the next top 5, and that is the top 5 staples from the GX box. Similarly to the Dex one, these have to be new cards. They can't be reprints that came out in the box. They have to be brand new cards from the box. That means Rhoda's not going to be on this list as a prime example. So, without any further ado, let's jump into the discussion, starting at our number 5 slot. So chilling here at number 5, and our very first staple, we have Future Fusion. Future Fusion's a very, very powerful card, as it's basically like a one-card fusion. It's slow in the fact that you need to wait 2 turns to actually get access to your fusion summon. But if your opponent can't disrupt it within those 2 turns, it is a extremely powerful card. You can get access into Cyber End by splashing 3 Cyber Dragons. You can get access into Dangerous by splashing like Malicious, just Malicious. You can get access into Dragoon by splashing a Plasma and a Dogma. We've been given so many new powerful fusion summons, and we have so many old ones like Arcana Knight Joker, for example. Just throwing these cards into the deck, just 1 copy of the materials, 1 Future Fusion, or if you want to go more heavy on it, you can run 2 or 3. And you can just potentially have free access into a phenomenal boss monster. And if you get access into something like Dragoon off of this card, you have a monster that, even though it's linked to Future Fusion, and if it's destroyed by your opponent removing the spell card, it comes back because it has Revival. So although it's very, very slow, it has a huge perk in getting you a boss monster in a fusion summon off of simply 1 card. Along with that, you guys will notice that one of the cards I specifically mentioned was Malicious. Well, if you mill Malicious off of the Future Fusion, you're actually setting up your graveyard and gaining more resources if you're going to say Dangerous. So it's a very, very fantastic card, very, very powerful. It gives you access into just so many different boss monsters, so many very, very powerful cards. If your deck has the room to splash in a few extra cards, maybe you need a boss monster, maybe you need another win condition, maybe you're not too worried about necessarily losing the Future Fusion, but if it goes off, you're in a great situation. It's just a very, very strong card. There's more times than I can count that Terra Master has literally just activate Future Fusion. I am not lucky enough to draw spell and trap removal, and he summons usually Dragoon, and I'm like, oh great, now I gotta deal with a 3k monster that has Revival, and it pops my monsters. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. So Future Fusion, very, very powerful card. Moving swiftly along into the number 4 slot on our list here, and actually a card that I just mentioned while talking about Future Fusion, that is Destiny Hero Malicious. So Destiny Hero Malicious is so good, in fact, that it is currently semi-limited in the TCG, because it is just a card that gives you free value. It gives you free resources if it hits grave. So say you do use your Future Fusion, you do send Malicious off of it, which by the way happens only on the 2nd turn after activation, so you don't have to wait the whole time until you actually get the fusion summon out. You just get to dump Malicious. You can then banish it, summon another one from your deck, and although it's just an 800 attack monster, it is free resources and free tribute fodder for any powerful monarchs like Jinzo, like Kaiser Glider, like Spell Canceller, like Hades. We have a good few decent to very powerful monarchs or tribute summons currently in the speed duel format, so being able to very easily get them out off of a Malicious is actually huge. Along with that, pairing Mali with something like the Fusion Party skill, it's just a free dangerous if you draw it, and then free tribute fodder for your potential monarchs. Fantastic card, extremely powerful, and honestly, I'm like partially shocked that we got it, because although at the moment it isn't, I'll say, like the most absurd, when we get into something like synchro format, for example, and this is just giving you a free level 6, and if you have a level 2 tuner, well, you have access into Stardust, into Red Dragon Archfiend, just a lot of those cards that like we're definitely going to see when synchro format comes around. So this card is just going to get progressively better and better and better as we get more hero support, as we get more summoning mechanics, and this card is already good. If we see monarchs, like actual archetype monarchs, come out and say the midterm paradox box, this card is going to become nuts, and it's already so powerful with the free value and the free tribute fodder. Fantastic card, and definitely the most exciting card for me from the hero side of things. Moving off into our number 3 slot here, we have Cyber Dragon. If you guys played back during like GX era in advanced format, you guys will know Cyber Dragon is a absurd card. It's actually the gatekeeper between GOAT and the formats onward, because Sidra shakes up the format so much. Why? You go second, it's a free 2100 body. I mean, that sounds pretty good. If your deck aims to swarm, aims to OTK, or whatever the means, Sidra is a free 2100 body. And funny enough, if you pair Sidra with any of the plethora of 1900 beaters that we have, like Breaker with a counter, or Volcanic Rocket, or the Charging Gaia, and you pair that with, say, either like a knock to out your opponent's monster, or Inner Conflict, you actually have lethal damage on board. Sidra gets you to lethal so quickly in a 4000 attack point, or 4000 life point, sorry, format. So the fact that we have this card, we have easy monster removal. If your opponent doesn't set up back row, sometimes you can literally just win because they summoned a monster, whether it was attack or defense position. It's absolutely absurd, absolutely obscene. It is a super crazy card, and similar to Malicious, you can pair it with Future Fusion to get access potentially into Cyber and Dragon. It's amazing. Along with everything I previously mentioned, Cyber Dragon is a huge buff to the Spellproof Armor strategy. This deck is just a bunch of big beat sticks, but it had a little bit of trouble swarming and was already a going second deck. So introducing Cyber Dragon to the deck, to the archetype, you could say, kind of. Yeah, it is a huge buff, helps so much with the swarming capabilities. It is another monster over the 2000 attack point threshold. It gets over breakers, gets over rockets, gets over defense position Clayman, the real threat in the format. Such a fantastic card, so cool to see. And if you are playing a machine deck, you can literally pair this with Overload Fusion, get a late game Chimera tech on board, and potentially just win. Fantastic card, definitely deserving of the number 3 slot. Moving off into number 2, we are in the top 2 here, and the next card I have is Wall of Disruption, or Wall of D, as a lot of people know it. Basically, when your opponent's monster declares an attack, all attack position monsters lose 800 attack for each monster. So they're losing at bare minimum 800. If they have 2 monsters, it's 1600, and if they have 3 monsters, it's 2400. So your opponent can swing in with a Kaiser Glider, and if they have 2 other monsters, that Kaiser Glider now has 0 attack points. Yeah, this is a fantastic battle trick, and honestly the first good battle trick that I'll say that we actually have, because this is a permanent 800 plus loss to your opponent's monster, and if they have multiple monsters in face-up attack position, then all of those monsters are losing those attack points. So all of a sudden your opponent has a bunch of 0 attack or just very, very small attack point monsters, and you might be able to just go in for lethal, go in for huge damage, get rid of threats that your deck normally might not have been able to potentially deal with. It's just such a strong card. It's seen so much use back in Duel Links format, back during Duel Links, and similarly to Mirror Force, because it only affects attack position monsters, it can make your opponent play a little weird by like switching one of them to defense before swinging in. Similarly, actually, to Dragon Caller format, when we had Windstorm of Itaqua, and you see a lot of people spin to defense to play around Windstorm. Well, you actually need to think about that now while playing into Wall of D. Fantastic card. Like I said, it's like the first real good battle trap we've gotten, and yeah, I am super stoked to see this card, and it is more than deserving of the number 2 slot, and yet still nowhere near as good as the number 1 slot. I'm sure most of you guys could have guessed what card was going to be here. We have DD Warrior Lady. After damage calculation, when this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that monster, also banish this card. It is searchable off of Rhoda, and it's just phenomenal. It's not destruction, so it gets around Izana. It doesn't send to Graveyard, so it gets around Dragoon. If you set it, your opponent can't offerings it to remove it. If your opponent doesn't play correctly and they swing into it, then you banish. It has a big enough defense that no counter breaker can't hit over it, and it's searchable, so you can play it at 6 copies essentially in your deck. This card is phenomenal removal. It is honestly probably the best removal that we have, and a lot of decks don't have banish recovery. You'll see a few decks like Gravekeeper, for example, or if you're looking at Dragoon specifically in Dragoon Turbo, that have graveyard recovery, but Warrior Lady banishes. So your opponent is essentially just not getting these cards back unless they're playing Dimensional Alchemist for some reason. This card is absolutely phenomenal. You're going to see it played in almost every single deck you run into, especially if it's already a warrior-centric deck because, well, it's searchable off Rhoda. You guys are going to run into this card a lot. This card's going to be everywhere. It is like the new big staple for Moth, and it's playable in essentially every single deck. You can play it in Volcanic, you can play it in Moth, you can play it in Cyber Angel, you can play it in, you can't play it in Crystal Beast. But that's why we replaced it with Exploder Dragon in. The Crystal Beast is as viable. Links in the cards right now for you guys. Right there. Go check it out. Go check it out. But yeah, fantastic card, actually. If you watch back the Rook's Table Speed Duel Showdown VOD, you guys will see this card show up a lot. And not only is it removal yourself, but it's also going to force out a lot of your opponent's removal. It's going to force out a lot of Book of Moons from your opponent, offerings from your opponent if they're running it, if they have it. People are going to spend resources to get rid of Warrior Lady, and if you have a boss monster or something bigger on the follow-up, well, you know they just burned a lot of resources on her. She's such a threat, such a strong card, and easily the best card that we've received in the Duel Academy box. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, head down in the description, click the Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy Discord server link, sign up for the Toxic Legacy series. It's absolutely free. $100 prize pool, single day event. It is tomorrow at the time of uploading this. It is tomorrow. This means if you're watching this tomorrow, you're probably too late. But you should still join the Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy Discord. Also, leave a like, leave a comment, helps the algorithm, and subscribe. Thank you so much. for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys probably not tomorrow, but the day after for another video. That's a wrap. Peace.